everyone. In this video, I'm going to go over practice 2, Stata practice 2. Again, it's non-graded. It is available just for you to practice Stata and the commands and see things that are very similar to your assignment and the exams. So in practice 2, we're going to use dataset on teaching ratings. And again, as I told you in the previous videos, it is always important to read the description of the dataset. The description of the dataset will tell you information about the data that you're using, the abbreviations of the variables that you have. And so in this document here, we have teaching ratings contain data on course evaluation, course characteristics, professor characteristics on a sample size of 463 courses over one academic year at a certain university. And again, you have here the information on the paper itself if you want to read it and have more information or detailed information about the paper and the estimation methodology. So the main idea of this model is to try to evaluate or estimate, I should say, all the factors affecting the course evaluation. Okay, and this course evaluation takes a scale from 1 to 5, where 1 is very unsatisfactory and 5 is excellent. And then there are factors that would affect the evaluation of a professor. One of them is a beauty, and this one is a rating of the instructor physical appearance by a panel of 6 students, average across the 6 panelists, shifted to have a mean 0. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dummy variables that takes 1, for example, for female if the instructor is female, 0 if male, minority if the instructor is non-white, and 0 if white, and English if the professor is not a native English speaker. Intro takes 1 if the course is introductory, and then 1 credit if the course is single credit elective. And then the age is a continuous variable that takes, different numbers per different person, so it's a continuous variable of the professor's age. Okay, so it's very important to read the description of the dataset. Sometimes later in the course, in the semester, we will have some datasets that reading it, you will be able to determine whether this is time series, panel, or cross-sectional dataset. So reading the dataset description is very important. So when you start this assessment, assuming that you have downloaded the dataset from the previous step, and again you have different formats as we had in the previous video. So we had different formats, whether it's a CSV, DTA, or Excel. So you're free to choose which format you want. And then this practice you have 11 questions. And again, our dependent variable is the teaching rating. And dependent variable here is course evaluation based on a constant, beauty, intro, 1 credit, female, minority, and English if the professor is non-native English speaker. Okay, and then the first question is based on the above regression model, the explained sum squared. So if you check the materials for this week and the previous week and the readings, you will be able to know that we have basically 3 parts of a sum squared. We have total sum squared, explained sum squared, and then the SSR, which is the sum of the squared residuals. In this question, we're asking about the explained part. We want to know to what extent those variables are able to explain the variations of the dependent variable. So instead, that makes our life easy because we can get this information by just 1 step, which is the regress command. Of course, by now you should be able to know the first line is about creating a file, which is a log file that will have all the commands that you write, and probably if you want to write your answers in green, it will also be included in this log file. You don't have to write your answers in green as I'm doing here, but I prefer to have my answers in front of me so that it will help you when you review the materials later on. So the log file is the place where you're going to get all your commands and your answers if you have them in green. And then to get the data set, you're using a DTA file, or here I'm using a DTA file. You're free to choose whatever data format you want, but I prefer to use DTA or CSV format. To answer the first question, you need the regress command. Regress, it's basically the regression analysis of your dependent variable, which is your course evaluation, as a function of a group of independent variables. And as you can notice here, the constant is not written in front of you, but it's included in the estimation. If you don't want a constant in your regression, then you would type here no constant, and Stata would understand that you do not want an intercept in your regression. But as you can see in the question I'm telling you that I need to have a constant, right? So you need to have a constant. So in that case, you would keep the default, which is having a constant. The good news is this practice, you will only have just one line that you will need in order to answer all questions. Once you open Stata like this, it's just the main page. You can just click do, and then the do file will be executed. Of course, all these green lines were written after I saw the answer. I mean, like after I saw the output, right? So seeing the output, then you will be able to write all your answers in green here if you want. Again, this is optional. So to answer the first question about the explained sum squared, the explained sum squared is actually the model sum squared. So the model sum squared, SS of the model, is called the explained sum squared in your textbook. And this one is about 22. Or the answer here is not approximated, so you will find the answer as number B. Okay? You can also show your feedback when you study this practice, so it makes your life easy, so that when you answer, you just see in front of you the correct answer. The second question, this question is based on the 95 confidence interval on the variable minority. So I'm asking you about the variable minority, and the good news is the 95 confidence interval is already in the output, and the variable minority is right here. So I'm asking you actually about these numbers, okay? So make sure that whenever these numbers are in negative, then you need to keep the negative in your answer, okay? This one is saying that being a minority or a professor from a minority group, which is by the definition is non-white, then this will decrease the course evaluation by about 0.17 approximately. Okay, but this number would range from about 0.32 to about 0.02, okay, approximately. So to answer this, you need these numbers to find them in the answer, so it's right here in answer number A. The next question, 3, based on the results of the adjusted R-square. The adjusted R-square is right here, so once you have the output, you will get R-square and the adjusted R-square. It's better to look at the adjusted R-square because it doesn't have to increase every time you include an extra regressor, which is good because you don't want an R-square that is always inflated. So the adjusted R-square, as you have it on the slides and also on your textbook, it explains that the adjusted R-square has degree of freedom adjustment, which means that it doesn't have to increase every time you add additional regressor. But another thing to notice is that actually that these two numbers are close. I mean, like the R-square and the adjusted R-square are kind of close, and this is because you have a relatively large sample size. Okay, so the adjusted R-square is given right here, and you can find the answer is D. The next question, question number 4, and again, this part I keep repeating it so that you don't get lost. What we're doing the same. We're just estimating the same model again and again. or you just once you estimate it the first time, then you don't have to estimate it again. I mean, like, you're using the same results again and again, over and over, to answer different questions. Based on the regression results, which of the following is true? Okay, so you read all the sentences, and it just you need to find the correct one based on whether I'm talking about female or single credit. So we have two answers about single credit, and we have two answers about female. So when you look at female here, being a female, this would decrease the course evaluation by 0.17, about 0.17 points, right? And then one credit course increases the course evaluation by about 0.63. So you need to find one of these two numbers. Then you can find the number here, and this one saying reduces, not increases, because we have a negative number in front. I mean, you have negative sign in front of this number. So correct answer is B. Okay, I'll stop now and then I'll continue.